there, my name is Andrew Givler, and this is GivReads. It's a channel where we talk about reading, writing, storytelling, everything between. I'm a YouTuber, author, booktuber, something like that, because I like to stay busy and have fun with you guys. And here in this podcast that I do called The Word Forge, which sounds really pretentious, but you know, it is what it is, we write stories on YouTube together. So we're actually writing a novel, I think. We're kind of seeing where this goes, called The Song of the Hunter, which is about the story of one of the characters from Soul Fraud, Orion, in some of his earlier things that go on. Well, and I don't know more than that myself, so we're sort of figuring it out as we go. It's a chance for you guys to see inside the process I go through when I'm writing, to share in it a little bit, to give me some ideas, some feedback, and to mess around and have a good time. If you guys haven't seen the other episodes, they will be in order in a playlist because you may want to get the story at the end. Every episode has the story at the end so far. As always, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button too. If you're new around here, help grow this channel, and let's dive into it. We obviously left things off in a very tense, heated moment, but first things first, I want to go through and kind of review you guys' feedback to see if there's anything I missed, need to adjust, and then we'll dive in to phase 2, which is actually physically writing the whole thing. Emperor 81716 said, give the town 4 saloons, 3 of them buildings, and another horse. That's a Camp Minecraft reference, and you know, good times. Culture Voiture said, thanks for giving me more confidence in my writings. I'm dyslexic, and it's good to see people like me doing something that I see challenging and giving me the passion to write more. Dude, that's awesome. Keep trying. Listen, Microsoft Word's a powerful tool, all right? Together we can do this. Rihanna Leal said, thank you for the shout out at the beginning of your video. Glad I could help. I love how you were able to weave character descriptions, personality, backstory into the narrative and action. By the way, was it on purpose that the walkway sounded newer, in better condition than the rest of the town, as if it were important? I have a feeling I know what the citizens are. Can't wait to find out if I'm right and what happens next. That would be telling. We'll get to that part when we start writing today. A bunch of people had comments about the scabbard. A scabbard is the name used for a sheath to hold a sword, knife, and other large blades and rifles. Scabbards are used by horse riders, both military and cavalry, and cowboys had scabbards on for their carbine rifles and lever action rifles attached to the horse for both storage and protection. Okay, so I didn't end up finding the right word. I could have sworn that it was like boot or something, was like what I grew up reading like Louis L'Amour say maybe, but I guess I was wrong. I don't really know. Splatoon was mad that I stopped in the middle of a sentence. Fair enough. Okay, I was trying to do dramatic, but that's fair. It kind of hurt me. I should live stream while doing this. I think I would get too distracted because truth be told, I kind of have to zone out a little bit when I write, and if I'm reading your guys' comments, it would be hard to do. Benji would like to see Orion find the sword, and he maybe get it. Oh, maybe using a ghost hunt, how it got its powers. No comment. No comment. No comment. No comment. No comment. Hannah Grover said she thought the Wild West had more coyotes than wolves. You might be onto something there, and that's something I should check on. Also, yeah, a couple people remarked on like grammar stuff and stuff like that. Part of the reason you guys see behind the scenes is, one, I'm dyslexic, and 2, I'm really bad at grammar. You will see that, okay? So this is in no means polished. This is just a rough pass of the story. If we do eventually publish this novel, it'll go to an editor. It'll go through a whole bunch of other phases before it gets done, and I probably won't show too much of that. This is really just showing about like the writing process itself. And that's great feedback. I'm really glad you guys are enjoying this. I'm having fun writing something completely different. Even though I'm putting a lot of time into writing, I just finished the draft of book 3 and sent it off to the editor, which means that I have been living in book 3 for a while. It's fun to do a project that's completely different, kind of as a palate cleanser, even though I am working now on book 4 almost every single day. So this is the next phase of the Word Forge. I will start by writing for like 20 minutes or so. We'll go over what we have. I will sort of let you guys in whenever I have sort of an interesting moment, and we'll see what's up. Were there wolves in the Wild West? Okay, so the wolves went extinct in America. Did cowboys fight wolves or coyotes? That's gotta be. So it seems that from what I'm seeing here is that wolves were more prevalent. So nowadays, coyotes are more likely to be what you encounter in the desert. But back in the day, before we made the wolves go extinct in what seems like a bad idea, wolves were more common even down here and not up just in the northern regions. So I'm going to leave it as wolves for now, but that's definitely something to like check on in the future to see if I messed up. So good note. I appreciate the feedback. All right, here's another thing that I don't really know. What are the most famous kind of like Wild West revolvers? I know there was like a Smith & Wesson, the Peacemaker. Yeah. The Colt Patterson. Okay, that's a bit. The Colt Navy revolver. Yeah. That's a little bit older. I think I'm looking for the Smith & Wesson, perhaps. The Winchester, of course, like the repeater rifle. Riding shotgun. Yep. I don't know about when this is happening. Double action is probably towards the end. Top 10 6-shooters of all time. Here we go. Spanish-American War, that's probably a bit too late. I might do the Smith & Wesson because that's like late 1800s to early 1900s. That's probably about where we're looking. Otherwise, the Peacemaker is really the one. The Peacemaker is really the one. I was hoping to use a different one just because I know that's what they use in Cold as Hell. And if Jamie Castle catches me using this, he's going to make a lot of fun of me. But I think that the Model 29, there's still, yeah, that's like, these are much more modern. Okay, Peacemaker it is. We'll go with the Peacemaker. Okay. Okay, we're coming together. We're getting in the action. A couple key things that I think about when we're doing action is keep the pace going. I can't stop and explain too much, but I have to still keep you in the head of the character. This is especially important in first person, where my narrator is the only person that you kind of have going with you. Number two, keep it moving quickly. I like it to feel cinematic. I like it to feel like you're in it. And in order to do that, I can't over describe. So I have to really choose the things that he notices very carefully. Otherwise, it becomes overwhelming and I don't feel like it flows very well. I've been told that action is one of the things that people think I write better, like one of the stronger points of my writing. And so that's something I definitely try to lean into when I'm writing scenes like this. Okay, we're making good time. I really like how this is coming together. One of the things that I love about the Wild West is like the raw violence of how the stories feel, right? This is like really, really hard people removed from society, and they're really disconnected in a lot of way because they're out in like the bleeding edge of the wilderness. So having this sort of like the Murphys, who are part of, they're from the East Coast, they're from the established society, they are, you know, happy, etc. Well, not happy, but they are civilized, such as it is, compared to like the roughness of the town, and then have the supernatural. So you have civilized and like lack of civilization clashing, and you have supernatural and not supernatural clashing at the same time. To me, I really, really like that balance, and I'm trying to smooth it out and make it work. Is it working? I don't know. You guys are gonna have to tell me. Now comes a key moment. We're introducing like the first villain. I'm not saying this is the main villain. It might be. I actually don't know yet. But we're introducing like an evil person who's actually gonna have lines. And you gotta make sure that it has just the right tone and sets just the right stage. I'm also really enjoying writing in the Wild West style because I feel like I finally get to be kind of harsh in the tomes, right? This character definitely thinks in really, really violent, vicious terms, which doesn't mean that he's violent and vicious, but it's just, like I said, it's the wilderness, right? He's in the hard-bitten extremity. He's a tough guy, and so he thinks in tough ways. And it's kind of fun to use those word choices that he would use over somebody like Matt, who that's not his first resort. Like Matt doesn't use tough responses to a lot of things. And so I think you get to paint some cool pictures about how he thinks, and like he gets to sound really dramatic about a lot of stuff. And that's really fun. I am enjoying writing this guy, who I need to come up with a name for. Oh man, I really like how this is coming together. I feel like it definitely has a little bit of that horror vibe. It has a little bit of just of that tension and everything. She is definitely coming together in a way too, where I feel like she's creepy but also powerful and intimidating. A little bit of Lilith vibes, but that's okay. Lilith was a lot of fun. And now I just need to figure out how to get him out of this situation. This is my favorite part of writing like action, is like kind of just letting it flow, right? You know, they take a move, you take a move, they take a move, you take a move, and then how do you get out of it? It's some of my favorite thought processes for plotting, and I'm really liking how this is coming together. I hope you guys like it. I really do. This is such a fun project. I'm really enjoying participating in this and sharing this with you guys. So I hope you guys are getting something out of it and really enjoying it as well. And that's time. Okay, we're good. Hey. Cool. Well, that's the end of the little sprint. We've written this out. I'm really excited about these couple pages. Let's see what you guys think. I'll read them to you, and you guys can give your feedback. So remember, they were on the street. They were just about to go to step up onto the boardwalk, and that's when something started to happen. I'll kind of ease us in, and we'll go from there. That's when it happened. The sleepy town woke up, and the world went from a dream to a nightmare. I turned in time to see a blur as something green dashed across the boardwalk and slammed into Mrs. Murphy. There was a flash of bright color as several dresses spun like some sort of satin tornado. Instinct set my right hand flash into my belt from my old travel companion, a cult peacemaker. The gun leapt into my hand and I raised it, heart hammering in my chest. Delilah Murphy was pinned against the wall by one of the women who had been out on her errands. The townswoman's face was pressed against my employer's neck, and as I stared in horror, the woman in green lifted her bloody mouth from Delilah's neck and turned to smile at the rest of us, revealed 2 giant fangs like a serpent in her mouth. It happened so fast that Mrs. Murphy didn't start to scream until after the biting was done. Stupefied, I forgot how to pull the trigger for a moment. A man can be as quick on the take as a rattler, but that don't mean he doesn't need a moment to process when he encounters one of life's mysteries. Before I or any other of the members of my party could gather our wits, the rest of the town leapt into action, like a pack of foxes breaking into a henhouse. The shopkeep grabbed Mr. Murphy, a pair of matching canines sprouting out of his mouth as he leapt for the man's throat. Smith went for his gun, but 2 of the no longer sleeping cowpokes wrestled him to the ground. Jones had just enough time to scream as something dragged him into the shop through the swinging doors. All of a sudden, I was alone, standing in the middle of the street, gun in hand, feeling like a dead fool. My mama spent a lot of her life trying to save me from going to hell. It seems that I should have been a better son and listened to her instruction. Somehow, my brain finally settled itself and my survival instincts kicked in. I might be a dead man, but my heart was still pumping and my trigger finger still worked, so I reckoned that there was still some time for me to do the Lord's work here in hell. I raised my peacemaker and aimed it at the woman greedily sucking at Delilah's neck. I thumbed the hammer of my 6-shooter back, and its loud click cut through the screams of my companions like a knife. The woman lifted her bloody face to glare at me with eyes that reminded me of a wild animal. I don't claim to be a civilized man, I said, my throat dry with fear, but where I come from, it's considered rude to bite your guests before they've had a drink or 2. There was a flicker of motion, and a woman appeared before me, standing at the top of the stairs, just inside the shadow. She had long black hair and wore a deep blue dress that brought out her cold, cold eyes. "Well, cowboy, we certainly wouldn't want to be inconsiderate hosts," she murmured, her eyes half littered as she gazed down at me through her eyelashes. "Why don't you come up here and we can see about that drink?" It was easy for me to reject her offer outright, seeing how my compatriots were being feasted on right behind her. But it wasn't hard to imagine how many cowpokes riding through hell hadn't been more than happy to take this woman up on that offer. Out in the desert, it gets hot and cold, and the cool and warm refreshment her voice offered would have been hard for anyone to turn down. I lifted the pistol to point directly into her face. Many is a brave man or woman who backs down when staring into the unblinking eye of Samuel L. Colt. But this temptress did not appear to be one of them. She stared at me through the cold metal of my gun with a bemused smile on her face. "I sincerely doubt that you have the grit that it takes to kill me, Ryder," she grinned, revealing a pair of fangs nestled amongst her perfectly white teeth. "But if it makes you feel any better, you're welcome to try." I didn't need to be invited twice. With a slight drop of my wrist, I lowered my pistol and shot her in the chest, aiming for the heart. Whatever was going on in this town, I had no time for these games. It was time to collect my employer and get the hell out of hell. There was a crack like lightning as the pistol fired, and the woman twitched backward, a tear opening in her blue dress. She staggered a half step and then straightened, blue eyes shimmering with dark joy. "Ouch," she said, with the tone of a parent entertaining a child's daydreams. I glanced down at the hole in the front of her dress, and despite the heat of the day, a chill crept down my spine as I realized no blood leaked out of the wound. The other townspeople had dropped my companions to gather behind the lady in blue like a pack. Their eyes gleamed as they stared at me. Despite the shooting iron in my hand, I feel no shame in admitting that I took a step back into the street in retreat from their malevolent hunger. "Now then, why don't you come into the shade and we can see about that drink?" the bloodless woman offered again. I licked my lips and lowered my pistol back into its holster. Something told me no matter how many holes I shot into these folk, the result was going to be the same. But something was tickling in the back of my mind, an idea of the thing that I was facing. Out in the West, men live and die on their stories. Ain't much to do at night except gather around the fire or saloon and swap tall tales. To some folk, a good yarn is worth more than gold or whiskey. Most of them is lies not worth the paper to write down, but every once in a while someone tells a story that sticks with you. And I just so happen to remember hearing a legend about a thing this old-timer called vampire. All right, well, that's the end of session 3. We're making some good progress. We're up to almost, 2,500 words. That's not very much, but you know what? It's a good first chapter. Again, as always, I love your guys' feedback. Comment, let me know if you're excited, if you don't like it, if you like the twist, whatever. I look forward to interacting with them. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back with another episode of The Word Forge real soon.